Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to the Pogo Gold Mine about 340 miles northeast of Anchorage, Alaska. The gold mine opened in 1989 and sits in steep and brushy country about 40 miles northwest of the town of Delta Junction. This area has been the site of environmental research ever since mining started, and the GoodPaster River Drainage is one of the locations scrutinized and monitored. The elevation of the drainage varies around 2,400 feet above sea level, with rolling mountains to the south and larger ones to the north. The dense brush covering the land is comprised mostly of alder, willow, and other brush under 10 feet in height, with occasional stands of spruce and birch trees. The animals common here are moose and caribou primarily, with predators being coyotes, wolves, black bears, and brown bears. At 10:30 a.m. on Monday, June 19, 2017, 27-year-old Erin and 38-year-old Ellen Trainer were taking soil samples along GoodPaster River. Ellen hailed from Fairbanks and worked as a biologist for Alaska Biological Research Incorporated, which was contracted to do biological impact studies by the mine owners. Erin worked there in the same role and grew up in Chugiak near Anchorage. She spent her youth wandering the nearby forests and playing sports. Erin's interest for sports and the outdoors probably started with her family owning a chain of outfitting stores called Jack's Outdoor Gear in northern Colorado. She was a member of the U.S. Junior Olympic Nordic Ski Team in 2006 and 2007. Erin was trained as a geologist and botanist at the University of Montana and the University of Alaska Anchorage. She had already adventured her way around some of the most secluded corners of the globe by this early age. Erin and her husband Gabe were married just 2 weeks prior to this day. At the role as biologists for ABR, both women had completed numerous classes on bear safety. Their broad and extensive experience outdoors only added to their knowledge base. Erin and Ellen had packed into their site about 5 miles from the mine for soil samples and still had the backpacks on their shoulders. As they pushed their way through the thick brush, they chatted about being bear-aware. Erin was about 5 yards up the trail when Ellen heard a rustling in the bushes just behind her. Ellen turned to find the source of the rustling and watched a 300-pound bear appear only 15 feet from her. The bear looked like it could be a grizzly bear, but before she could really analyze it, it was already rushing toward her. Ellen reached down toward her bear spray in its holster on the waist strap of her backpack. Before she could touch the can of spray, the bear closed the distance and drove Ellen into the dirt face first. The bear started to tear at her backpack with savage and irresistible force, jerking her around with each toss of its head. Erin watched as the bear straddled Ellen during the attack. She began to yell at the bear in an attempt to drive it off, but it didn't relent. After only a few seconds, the bear lifted its head from Ellen and fixed its gaze on Erin. Her screams had finally drawn its full attention, and now it approached her. Now, we've already mentioned how Erin had had training on how to handle a run-in with a bear. Undoubtedly, she'd been taught to do the same thing that Ellen had done. While the bear attacked Ellen, she may have had time to reach for her bear spray and pulled it from her shoulder strap on her backpack, but she did none of these things. And the reason why can only be attributed to overwhelming fear. I've been there myself many times in Idaho and Alaska. When a bear's eyes fix on you, all the plans you have to protect yourself in your rational mind go out the window. The unpredictable nature of a bear becomes a reality, and you realize you have no way of anticipating precisely what it will do next. Ellen's face was buried in her hands as she stared at the ground. She could hear Erin's screams turn into gurgling as the bear mauled her. She reached her hand down to her bear spray and pulled the canister from its holster. Ellen flicked off the safety cap from her bear spray and discharged a cloud of irritant in the bear's direction. The bear immediately charged back toward her and tore at her backpack with continued fury and showed no effects or reactions to the spray. Upon seeing no reaction from Ellen, the bear returned to Erin and began dragging her lifeless body down the hill by her head. Ellen took this opportunity to spray the bear once again, causing it to charge back toward her one more time. She covered up her head and neck with her arms once again and laid still. The bear sniffed around her for a few seconds and then returned again to Erin. Ellen now considered that this bear was intent on killing and eating the women, likely both of them. She reached around to her backpack slowly and searched for her radio. Grasping it, she pulled it toward her head and clicked it on. Urgently, she sent out a mayday cry for help, relaying the fact that they were being attacked by a bear. She stated that the bear spray was not working and a weapon was needed. Stephen Herrero is one of the top researchers on bear attacks and preventative measures on how to stop or avoid them. His research indicates that black bears tend to recover from exposure to bear spray faster than the other bear species. This may explain why this bear was so resistant to the effects of the bear spray. His work has been cited on previous episodes on this channel. Ellen's reaction to the bear attack was the appropriate method when dealing with a surprise grizzly bear confrontation, but it is not advisable for a predatory black bear attack. Still laying face down, she listened as the bear moved through the brush surrounding the women. She had no idea if Erin was still alive or not. At 10:40 a.m., Ellen's radio message was received by the coordinator at the mine. A helicopter arrived only a few minutes after Ellen's message was received. The crew of the helicopter could see the bear dragging something through the brush as they approached. Instead of searching for a landing spot, they decided to buzz the bear with the helicopter. Flying right over the bear, they frightened it away, giving Ellen space to flee from it. Via the radio, they directed her down a trail away from the bear to a clearing. They landed and picked her up to fly her back to the mine. While at the mine, the helicopter crew added an armed guard, packing a .338 high-powered rifle. Upon returning to the location of the attack, they spotted the bear as it dragged Erin's corpse downhill once again. The guard fired the rifle and struck the bear from a hovering helicopter at an undisclosed distance. After being struck by the bullet, the bear released its grip on Erin's head and ran up the hill. 2 more shots rang out from the guard's rifle before the bear collapsed, finally dead. After finding a suitable landing spot nearby, the crew and guard disembarked the helicopter. They approached the location they last saw the bear and found Erin's body. About 50 yards away, they also located the bear's carcass. Erin's corpse and the bear's carcass were taken back for analysis, and examinations of Erin's injuries indicated that she'd fought the bear with everything she had. She had several bite wounds on her left arm and her left side, indicating she may have curled into a ball to protect the more vulnerable parts of her body. The significant and fatal wounds were found to be deep and crushing bites to her head and neck. Her body had scratches and scrape marks on her thighs from being dragged through the brush by her head. Her cell phone was found on her corpse, but her backpack was never located. During a necropsy on the bear's carcass, it was determined that the black bear was a 6 to 8-year-old boar. In its stomach were found pieces of fabric, Erin's clothes, or Ellen's backpack. There was also some grass and cartilage from a calf moose. Investigators noted that the bear had very little to no subcutaneous body fat, but did have a healthy amount of visceral fat in its abdominal area, indicating it was not starving, but was likely very hungry. The necropsy revealed that the bear had eaten no meat in several days, so it was not defending a cached animal carcass. Given it was a male, it was not defending any cubs. The bear's approach to Ellen was also telling. It didn't roar or growl, which it would likely do in a surprise defensive attack. Given it had closed on her from a short distance and pounced on her from behind, investigators concluded that the bear had strictly predatory motives in its attack on the women. They also concluded that had the women dispensed their bear spray earlier, it may have prevented the attack, but were skeptical that it would have been enough to prevent such an aggressive bear from continuing its attack. Ellen was treated at the local hospital in Fairbanks after a ride there in an ambulance. Her injuries were not severe, and she was released the same day she was admitted. Warning signs were posted at the trailhead, and all visitors were kept away from the area. Erin's fatal attack happened one day after the fatal black bear attack on 16-year-old Patrick Cooper as he ran in a hill climb race on Bird Ridge near Anchorage. His attack is presented in an episode on this channel and is linked to in the article description below this episode. Over the last 130 years, there have only been 6 fatal black bear attacks in Alaska. Erin's death was the first human fatality to have occurred when bear spray was used as a defense. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Do you think this bear was somehow resistant to the effects of bear spray? Given the number of shots taken from the guard's rifle to bring the bear down, would a firearm have made any difference in Erin's attack? What more could Erin and Ellen have done to prevent or stop this bear attack? I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.